your fitness business podcast snapshot. 3 key metrics we should improve around business finance in 2020. Action steps to achieve the result for each of those metrics, and tips to remain focused on your New Year's finance resolution. All of that and more coming right up. Welcome to the industry's leading business podcast for fitness owners and managers. We'd like to thank this month's premier podcast partner, Team Rockstar Fit. Team Rockstar Fit is the award-winning mastermind group for women in fitness to expand their careers online in partnership with Beachbody. Don't get left behind in the industry. Get support, get online, and get ahead. Visit teamrockstarfit.com to schedule your free strategy session. Hello to you all and welcome to the 4th episode in our New Year's resolution series. Today, our focus is financial management and my special guest is Robert Jackson. Robert is a Bay Area native, founder and CEO of Forma Gym, a club industry top 100 club, and he's the creator of Fitness BI. Serving more than 1,800 health club locations in the US and Canada, Fitness BI is a business intelligence platform for top brands, including Crunch Fitness, Retro Fitness, Gold's Gym, Planet Fitness, Chuze, EOS Fitness, and more. We'll hear from Robert shortly, but first I have some super exciting news to share with you all. I caught up recently with Ian Mullane, the CEO of KeepMe. Take a listen. Ian, welcome along and thank you for joining me on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you along because you are here today to share some very exciting news with us all. What is that news?
Am I? Fantastic. What is it? What news have I got? No, I'm joking. We're involved. We're going to be sponsoring this year and we're very, very excited to be doing so. Let me let you into a little secret. When we were trying to understand the industry better, this was the podcast that the team and I utilized for an awful lot of our subject matter expertise. So the fact that we're now at the stage where we're going to be becoming more involved with you guys is just fantastic.
Well, we are absolutely thrilled. So welcome aboard to KeepMe. And it's not just any partnership because KeepMe are going to be our new FitBizBration partners, which means from now on, whenever you guys are listening to the show, you're going to hear the KeepMe FitBizBration. So all of those great tips, those 3 tips that we finish off every single show, they're going to be brought to you by KeepMe. So Ian, thank you so much. And I think that for everyone out there that is watching or listening at the moment that isn't familiar with the business, tell us a little bit more about KeepMe.
Okay, well, very simply, what KeepMe is a tool that's powered by AI to help operators increase their revenue through better decisions by providing analytics around retention, around churn, and around their marketing efforts. So a typical customer for KeepMe will be an organization that's looking to understand which of their members are at risk in a highly accurate fashion, and then be equipped with the tools to actually be able to do something about it. That, in a summary, is what KeepMe does. It's been around for the last 12 months, and I'm pleased and delighted and honored to say we now have customers in over 8 countries.
That was going to be my question. So whereabouts do you work? Where are you available to work with fitness professionals and fitness business owners out there?
Well, currently our main areas of concentration are Australia, the United States. We have some in Southeast Asia where we have a large proportion of our team and where my original business, Vander.fit, was based. The United Kingdom wouldn't be a surprise to suggest, and also Spain where we've taken on some customers over the last few months. But from an overall perspective, the organization is a global organization. We have staff across each one of the continents. We support the platform across each one of the continents, and we have the capability to deliver in each country.
That is brilliant. So Ian, we're going to be hearing a lot more from KeepMe over the months ahead, over the next 12 months, and we're really excited to learn more about the business. But for anyone in the meantime that's intrigued and they want to get in contact with you and the team, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Okay, well, apart from the social channels which you'll be able to find, I would suggest the best place, definitely without doubt, is KeepMe.ai. I would like to point people towards the blog quite specifically. We have a great content team that are trying to put together consistent and long form educational pieces for thought leadership. So for anyone who is interested in the impact of AI on the fitness industry, as well as the impact and the importance of it relative to retention, I'd suggest that keepme.ai/blog would be a great place to start.
That is a phenomenal place to start, and we're going to make it nice and easy for everyone that is watching and listening today. If you're watching, you're going to see the links pop up right below our video right now, so you can go directly there. Or otherwise, if you're listening to today's interview, then head directly to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Check out the show notes for today's episode, and you'll be able to see the link there as well. So, Ian, on behalf of all of the FBP family, I want to say a huge warm welcome to you and to all the team at KeepMe. Thank you so much for your partnership, and we're really excited about the year ahead.
Thank you to you, Chantel, and the team. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to it a great deal.
Thank you once again to Ian for joining me, and make sure you listen out to our Keep Me Fit Inspiration a little bit later in today's episode. I am really excited to share this upcoming interview with you all. Whether you're a seasoned business professional or if you're new to understanding numbers, Robert breaks down today's tips into easy to digest segments, and he shares some terrific case studies with us along the way. We're about to transition into this week's interview, but first, thank you to our podcast partner, Team Rockstar Fit. Team Rockstar Fit is a mastermind team that helps fitness professionals and studios add nutrition, fitness, and online coaching to their existing fitness business with tools from Beachbody. Visit teamrockstarfit.com. Enjoy this week's interview with my special guest, Robert Jackson. Robert, welcome along. Thank you for joining us on the show, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
I'm just thrilled that you're joining us today, and we're going to kick things off talking about some New Year's financial resolutions. And as we all know, we come into the new year, and so many people decide to set New Year's resolutions, and they might think about assigning a measurement to improve their weight. They might want to lose 3 kilos. They might want to run 20 miles. They might want to make 6 figures. But when it comes to the financial position of her company, what are the 3 key metrics that we should look to improve over a 12-month period?
Yeah, so, we get a lot of clients who have all kinds of different metrics and have different varying opinions on this. But I really think if you wanted to pick 3, it boils down to really just 3 that drive the entire business in the fitness business. Of course, it depends on what segment you're in. If you're a studio, if you're a personal trainer, if you're if you're a Pilates instructor, or if you're a major enterprise like Planet Fitness. If you're a health club, you're going to be looking at average revenue per member, right? How much revenue on average do I bring in per customer that I have? Your average controllable cost per member. And I say controllable cost because factors like rent, factors that they're outside your control, those aren't going to be things that you can make a huge difference on. So what are your controllable costs? What is that average per member? And net membership growth. I mean, those are the 3 that really drive profit in your business.
Okay, so what we want to do today is dive into each of these 3 in a little bit more detail and have a bit of a talk about how we can actually improve each of those metrics. So do you want to set us up with each of these, starting off with the average revenue per member? Where do we need to start?
Yeah, let's start there at average revenue per member. So I said 3 kind of general overall KPIs, and I really do think that those 3 KPIs drive all of profit. But you could, if I told you that profit is one of the KPIs, that's kind of silly, right? To think about profit as a KPI. What do I do about that? How can I increase average revenue per member? And there are all kinds of factors that can attribute to average revenue per member. And so while that might be like the overall arching KPI, we've seen with the clients that we work with, and we have somewhere around 2,000 locations that use Fitness BI Crunch Fitness, all of Crunch Fitness, EOS, Chuze, a lot of our Planet Fitness franchisees, and a number of different organizations use Fitness BI to analyze their business and understand everything that's going on at a minute level. So I've seen my fair share. I think there's probably 200 plus KPIs that owners have tracked. And I think that what the guys do that do it really well is they pick one or two things that is causing something about those three KPIs to fail, like or improve. Like, what can I pick this quarter to help average revenue per member improve? How can I make that super simple? And how can I get that down to my front level employees who are the ones that are actually going to be able to affect the system? When you talk about average revenue per member, what are the factors? The question would be, what are the factors that can help contribute to raising the average revenue per member? Right? How can I get that up? And are these things that I can affect? Are these things that are within my control? And can I make it simple enough so that I can give it to an employee and we can focus on it all the way down to the front desk level staff, that they understand this KPI and they understand how they affect that KPI? Here's where we always start, right? Okay, let's look at net profit. That's one of our KPIs. Let's throw it up on a board and let's put it on we want everybody focused on net profit or net growth. In this case, we're talking about average revenue per member. We want everybody focused on raising the average revenue per member. But let's say that you have 10 general managers. The general manager doesn't really know how to affect that number. I mean, he needs more instruction. If you're talking about at the C level, that's one thing. But at the general manager down to the personal trainer, they don't really have a plan for that. It's too complicated to understand things like net membership growth or average revenue. So here's some real life examples. We've got this client who is really successful. Has multiple facilities, does it really, really well, pays attention to his data extremely well. I think that there are probably 50 KPIs that we started out with in his dashboard. He's got this thing up on a front desk screen. He's got it up on TVs. He's got it everywhere, plastered throughout his facility. But that was the initial phase. And being a really, really smart operator, he realized that this is way too complicated for somebody to actually understand what I need to personally do to help improve the goal of the company, which is focusing on this one metric. So he broke it down and said, we're gonna take a very simple metric that everybody can contribute to, and we're gonna give it to our staff, the people that can, and we're gonna do this once a quarter. So in the first quarter, we knew that we could increase average revenue per member by just offering to push orientations, which were $10 at point of sale, right? Somewhere around, they actually had a system where they paid for orientations. We could just push orientations and make sure that everybody knows that what we're trying to track is the percentage of people who sign up, what percent of those get booked and sold an orientation. And the key there is a customer walks in, that's the point at which we need to start tracking that KPI. They purchase their membership, and then there's a set of instructions that a front desk or a salesperson needs to do after that. So they had a really easy path to understanding what their goal was. The goal was we were going to take it from 55% to 60% rate. And each person knew where they stood and how they can improve. And more importantly, their managers knew who was down and who was up and who needed help and who needed instruction. And I mean, just that little increase of 5%, which they were able to achieve, I think like 7 or 8% by just making sure that everybody was aware that this is where they stood within the company, number one. Number two, if they were unsuccessful at booking somebody into an orientation and selling that product, then the manager was able to easily train them on the spot rather than wait until the month is over or wait till the day is over, et cetera, right? But what they did really well was they broke it down into a simple KPI. They want to improve average revenue per member. They know that this is an easy way to do it. This quarter, this is our KPI. We're going to focus ourselves on improving the rate that people go into an orientation by 5%. That increased the number of dollars that they brought in at the front desk. That increased the number of average revenue per member, et cetera. I think that's a really good example of that one. Find something that can increase revenue. And you do that by looking at that average revenue per member, seeing what contributes to it, and then breaking down the easiest areas where you can improve.
Robert, that is such a great example. And I want to thank you for sharing the case study, because we always love having the opportunity to look inside another business and how they've actually applied these in a real life circumstance. And tell me this, am I correct to now think that that process that you've just said to us, so looking at what are all the KPIs that we have in the business, simplifying it down, focusing on just one, and then breaking that down into specific actions for our team, am I correct to say that that same process will now be applied to metrics 2 and 3?
You're absolutely correct. And I often get asked, being in the data analytics, business intelligence business, I often get asked, what are the KPIs that people are looking at? What are the KPIs? What are the top KPIs that the top operators in the world are paying attention to? And that specifically was my answer. Yes, you have these you can say that these 3 KPIs control everything, but everybody knows that. It's about the minute. It's about what you can control underneath. That's what should be tracked.
Yeah, I can see that. So because we love case studies so much, what I'm hoping that you might be able to do is move into the second metric, which was the average controllable cost per member. Do you think you could share a case study for us around that particular metric?
Sure. Absolutely. So for controllable cost, there's a bunch of things that our operators have done. One, we obviously bring in data from all different sources, so we're also bringing data in from their financial set. And so one really good operator, and this is kind of at the enterprise level, it was the request was, we want to figure out what our controllable costs are per member, and that's kind of where I came up with that KPI, and try to decrease it. And so we said, okay, what are we going to do to go about trying to figure out what contributes to a rise in controllable cost per member? So we went through and basically defined and built a way to understand the different influencers to controllable cost, and then looked at them over a series of different clubs so that we could see if there was any variance. Now, what we specifically did in this case, we took out all of the locations. We looked at all of the different active members over a 2-year period of time. And then we had a calculation that looked at the average cost per member, but the average cost per member per GL code. In other words, like per category of expense. And then did an average across all the locations to benchmark it, and did an average across each member. And so when you do that and you have all your locations listed out in the line, and you have all of your controllable costs listed out, you can easily just identify that GL code 101, which is gas and electric, in this location is 150% higher than the average across all the rest of the locations. Right. So this is kind of at the enterprise level. It is a case study, but let's say that you have 3 locations. You can break it down to more of a small business operator, not so small business, but you've just broken into the enterprise level, and now you need to manage 3 separate locations. Well, if you take all those 3 locations and you're able to separate them, and you have all your GL codes and expenses for each location, and you have the average GL code cost, and I say GL code, I mean category, expense category cost per member. So what's my housekeeping cost per member? What's my gas per member? What's my electric per member? What's my ancillary services per member? One thing that this customer did that was really, really well is he already removed all of those non-controllable costs out of the equation, and any cost that was related to the building that could not be, essentially all your fixed costs were removed out of there. And what they were able to find fairly quickly when they lined everything up was that they had a few locations where the gas per member, gas and electricity per member was like 450% higher than any other location than they had. And it stood out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
And it might seem like in a small business world, easy to spot, but when you have 100 locations and you're trying to figure out what's going on in each location, it's not as simple as you would think. And so what they found was that what actually happened was the landlord was actually billing them too much in those locations because of an error with the meter and how it was being divided between the different tenants.
Wow.
So it was really cool to see, right there, save a ton of money and was able to lower their average cost per member. So my suggestion would be, make sure that you understand by each category what your expenses per member are, what your expense per square foot is, and then constantly monitor that.
What a great example. I was so excited. I was trying to jump in. That was such a great example, Robert. And it just really, as club owners, it makes us take a breath and think, wow, when was the last time that I did that type of analysis, when I went into that level of detail? And so often we're looking at how we can shift the needle in our business, how we can make changes, how we can look at reducing expenses. And you just shared with us such a great case study of what we could find within our business if we take the time to do that level of analysis. That was a fantastic example. Thank you so much, Robert. So now we're going to move into our final metric. And since we're loving the case studies, I think we might stick to the case study for this one as well, if you can share one with us. So let's talk a little bit about net membership growth. Can you share some insights into that for us?
Sure. Net membership growth. That's a big one, right? Because, it really just drives everything. And look, everybody knows that net membership growth is the KPI. I mean, if you're in the fitness business at all, you know that you need net membership growth. So it's not that this is some revelation that net membership growth is going to improve your business and you need to be tracking it. If you're not tracking net membership growth, I don't know what, you're probably not going to get very much help out of it. So with that said, now here's the thing about net membership growth. It's easy on the outside, but when you're uncovering it, there are literally hundreds of definitions of how people want to look at net membership growth based on the business and the business case and the scenario that they have with their data. And oftentimes we just take net membership growth as it is, like where it comes out of your source system saying you gained 10 clients this month. And everybody goes scratching their head saying, well, I thought we gained 15, but I thought we gained 20. And the salespeople are saying that we gained more. And the operations side is saying that we had less cancellations. So obviously there are a couple factors that drive net membership growth. It's just how many members came in, how many clients did you get, if you're a studio, and how many clients did you lose, how many members did you lose? And there are a number of different ways that people look at those two things. And I can tell you from experience working with owners that they have several different ways that they want to look at net membership growth. Once it's decided that this is the way we're going to look at it, then it's set in stone. But if you're a studio, for example, and you want to track how many clients left, and you don't have them on subscription, right? They come and go as they please. What's the metric you're going to use? What is it? 30 days? Is it 15 days that they haven't been to the studio that you count them as gone? Is it 60 days? At what point do you count them as being gone? Because if you're going to track net growth in clients or members or anything, you need to have an understanding of what that net growth means. Somebody may cancel their membership today, but that cancellation is not effective until 3 months from today. When do you count it? Do you count it on the day that it's taken in, or do you count it on the day that it actually takes place? Or do you count it when they're no longer paying? There's all kinds of different ways people count how they attribute somebody who's gone and left their business. So improving net membership growth is a whole nother battle. If I could tell you exactly how to improve net membership growth in a couple of sentences on this podcast, I think I would have the stellar business of any fitness business. And right, of course, it's difficult and it can be so varied. And I think that what we need to look at are what are the factors that are contributing, right? You have two sections of it. We've got new members and we've got cancellations or people who are leaving. If we look at cancellations, what's the top factors that are contributing to it? How long are they staying from the time that they stay to the time that they leave? We have one client who tracks cancellations on the day that they're received and has installed a program, again, along with metrics all around the program so everybody understands what their objective is, to re-engage them and offer them like an extended period of 6 months at a lowered rate. So the way that it works is somebody calls in, they want to cancel, and the job of the person who's taking that cancellation is to process the cancellation and immediately hand it off to a rebooking specialist. That rebooking specialist takes the cancellation as well, says, in order for your cancellation to be valid, we have to, you have to talk to the rebooking specialist. They take that and their whole sole job is to try to flip it into another 6 months extension on their membership at a lowered rate. And they throw in a bunch of bonus features for free. But I think that that was extremely successful. And I think that there are a lot of ways that people look at attrition and the problem with attrition and how they can attack it. And I know that we had Dr. Bedford on this last time, and that was a really, really insightful podcast. And I think that looking at the data, we have yet to really accomplish that. I had a client who literally said, I don't want to look at attrition at all. Attrition is what it is. What we can affect is new members coming in. That's what we can affect. We have to track that. The number of people that cancel is a result of probably a year's worth of experience with us, plus human behavior. So really difficult to improve human behavior, really difficult. I think that if your problem is too many people canceling, it's probably due to other factors in your business, not being able to update your facility, not being able to buy the latest equipment, have the latest stuff, not offsetting all of your capital expenses, not reinvesting. There are so many different reasons, but human behavior is probably the number one. And if you find somebody who's actually been effective at getting people to work out at scale, it's a very rare and very difficult thing to do. Absolutely. So control what you can control.
Robert, what I'd like to do is wrap all of this up, because you've shared fantastic case studies. We've looked at 3 key areas of the business from a financial perspective that we should focus on during 2020. So to bring this all to our FitBizspiration, do you want to leave us today with your key 3 tips to remaining focused on our New Year's financial resolution throughout the entire year?
Get your pen ready now for KeepMe's FitBizspiration.
Now let's go back to Robert for this week's KeepMe FitBizspiration.
3 key tips. Break it down to the simple that your staff understands. Don't give them too complicated KPIs or too many of them. Break it down to the simplistic. 2, take those simple KPIs and plan them out in an order of importance over the series of a year, quarter by quarter. Give your team something to focus on and dig into. Each department can have their own, but it needs to be relevant and understandable. Let them focus on it for 90 days so they can really see the value of improving that metric. Number 3, know your data. You gotta know your data. The tools are there. The data is there. If it's not organized, if you're not doing a good job cleaning it up, if you have employees inputting bad data, it's going to affect your business later on down the road and even right now. Data is the key. Those that know their data inside and out, know what the breakdowns are, and know what the KPIs they need to look at so that they can give them to their staff so they can improve them. If you don't know your data, then your staff won't either.
Absolutely. And I've got to share with you a personal experience that I had in relation to this, Robert, because back before I was podcasting, I spent some time working in a large fitness facility. And one of the things that they did is that the numbers were constantly changing. So the number that we were focusing on would change on a 4-week period. And so what you're saying in relation to focusing for 90 days on one thing, on one task, on one metric, so that your entire team can get on board and they can understand what the direction of the business is and what it is that you're focusing on, I think is absolutely key to making some traction in this area, because all too often we've got too many goals to work towards. It becomes confusing for our team. Months go by so fast, weeks go by so fast, that I love this idea of having a 90-day focus. So this has been phenomenal, and I think everyone can see exactly why you are our finance expert for the New Year's resolution series. So Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I'm going to put all of your contact details in today's show notes where everyone can go and check out a bit more information about you and about Fitness BI. So thank you for taking the time for joining us on the Fitness Business Podcast today.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it very much.
KeepMe, smarter member retention. KeepMe.ai.
Thank you once again to Robert. Now here's a message from our podcast partner, Precor. Tribe, if you haven't explored a functional training space for your gym, then now is the time. With Queenex Functional Training by Precor, there is a unit to fit every space. Plus, education is included to ensure that training is delivered with confidence. You need to jump online and check this out right now. Go to precor.com/fitness business podcast.
Precor Quickfire 5.
This week's Precor Quickfire 5 guest is the Chief Executive Officer of Crunch Franchise, Ben Midgley. Ben, a super warm welcome, a happy new year, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So we are going to start things with our Precor Quickfire 5. So can you tell everyone, why do you do what you do?
Well, I love it. Obviously, I've been in the industry for over 30 years now, and honestly, it's probably it is, in fact, the only thing I've really ever done, except going all the way back to high school, where I had a job in a kind of a corner store / deli, and then a couple odd jobs here and there. The only industry I've ever worked in for my entire career is fitness. Well, so it's been a great place. It's given me a lot, learned a lot, and gained a lot from it. So I couldn't really see me anywhere else.
Amazing. And what's one ritual that helps you become better at what you do?
I saw that question ahead of time, and I don't really have any rituals, but I would say the things that help me sort of continue to stay fresh would be obviously exercising, right? That's what grounds you. Patience and finding ways to practice that, especially as you get to be my age, you realize it's really a valuable skill, much more than you realize it in your younger years. Nature, I need to be around nature. I live up in Maine by the ocean, so whether I'm at the ocean or in the woods, it's a really good place to kind of reconnect with yourself and focus, see things clearly. Obviously, funny enough, spending time with my kids is great practice for business, because if you want to lesson them patience, those kids tend to help out. And then just constantly focusing on balance. At least for me personally, I'm sure it's the same way for a lot of other people. I've got to have this sense that everything's sort of balanced and in order, and that way, at least for me, when something starts to feel like it's out of kilter, it's easy to recognize that and put it back in check. So,
what a great summary. They're all fantastic. And yeah, I love what you said about exercise, because sometimes I think when we come into this industry, we get so up in the business side of things that we sometimes put our own fitness and health off to the side. So it's great to hear that is such an important focus for you during your days as well, Ben. So can you tell us, are there any apps or systems that you use to stay in control of your workload?
I honestly, I don't really I've never been good at sticking to those apps, right? The only thing that I would use is my iPhone, obviously, and my calendar. And then I have an assistant. And, I guess earlier in my days, I always felt having an assistant was a little bit of an excess, but, she really completely organizes my day and keeps me focused. And that would be the app, I guess you would say, that I rely on.
Now, is that Ashton?
Yes.
Well, big shout out to Ashton because she helped us line up the interview today. So thank you to Ashton for helping us out. And definitely.
Well, thank you for saying so. Yes, she does a great job.
And Ben, are there any books, podcasts, or blogs that you would recommend, and why?
Well, I'll tell you the one book I would recommend, and I don't think a lot of people have heard of it. It's called Thick Face, Black Heart.
I have not heard that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, most people wouldn't. It's by an author named Chin-Ning Chu. Probably haven't heard that name, but it's an interesting book. It's got personal applications, business applications, and it's kind of hard to explain because it's really very, very old, essentially Chinese philosophy, and I guess you could say getting ahead of life, but I guess the way you describe it is sort of a ruthless respect for yourself, if that makes sense. The book tries to explain that being ruthless is not a bad thing if it's done in the proper way. Most people in Western culture, think of ruthless as you're just being a terrible person. But once you go through the book, it gives you these different perspectives on how you've allowed yourself to be treated, how you treat other people, how to find that balance. And I found it to be a really, really motivating book. So I'd certainly recommend that to anybody out there who's looking for something like that.
Well, thank you so much for that recommendation because we haven't had that before in 270 episodes of the show. So I will find the book online and we'll grab the link for today's show notes for anyone that wants to check that out. And just to round off our Precor Quickfire 5, Ben, just give us a really quick insight into the main topic that we're going to be speaking on during your main interview.
Well, that would be New Year's sales resolutions. So, I have to preface that with I haven't been in the clubs myself, operating a club for many years now, but I started in the industry cleaning machines, and worked my way up through every single position in the industry to obviously being the CEO of Crunch Franchise now. But, my focus and what got me going in the industry is selling. I was the first salesperson of the year years ago, spoke all over the country and other countries, been a faculty member of the USA Institute, wrote a sales book called Golden Circle Secrets with my father. That was not for the fitness industry, that was just a business book. Became the #1 sales and marketing book on Amazon for a while there, and have always loved selling. So I'm essentially going to try to go back to the basics and give some folks some advice that are in the clubs every day on how to make sure you hit your numbers and, ideally elevate your career through sales.
That interview with Ben is coming up in episode 276, out February the 12th. So make sure you tune in and join us. This week's Rewind segment is one of our most downloaded money shows of all time. The episode was called 3 Ways to Make More Money in Your Fitness Business with special guest Rachel Cosgrove. During the interview, we talked about ways to make more revenue in your fitness business, how to increase your prices each year, and Rachel shared tips for getting new members into your club. If you missed that episode, then go to today's show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, scroll down and click the link in the timeline for episode 188. On Thursday, March the 19th, 2020, you'll have the opportunity to join friends and colleagues at the annual FBP Family Meetup at URSA 2020. Starting from the lobby of the convention centre at 6:30 a.m, we walk and we talk for 60 minutes, sharing experience, ideas and stories. Everyone from the FBP family is invited, and we would love you to join us on the day. We love to know who's coming, so please jump over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and go to the top of the page and click on the tab called Meetup. Then register your details for the Ursa Walk. If you need any more information, then please email me directly and Chantal at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's show. And don't forget, all the resources and the links for today's episode can all be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you to our foundation partner, Active Management. Active Management are a fitness business coaching company that help clients all over the world. And this month, I have a business tip for you all. Join the Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group, and you'll meet like-minded fitness owners and managers from all over the world. All you need to do is go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community. It's a highly engaging community where JT from Active Management shares loads of resources. Things like photos from inside gyms, reasons to exercise, a monthly book club, challenges, and even ideas under $50. It's free and it is an awesome community. Once again, just go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community. Thank you all once again for joining me for this week's episode. Enjoy your week ahead, and remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into lives of others.